Thanks, everyone. I'm Jules, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about the seven elements. The seven elements are truly elements. They're elements that hold different states of consciousness, and each one is stored or absorbed through a ray of biolight. So, the way that you can see the seven elements is that as you're going through each one of them, and I do recommend kind of going through them all and then spending at least a week to even a month on each element as it fully absorbs. So, the way the elements work is that as we are using them, we're asking them to absorb. So, they're absorbing both on a cellular level, a DNA level, and also on well, you could say through the mind, because they are holding consciousness. And we do have the experience of consciousness being in the mind, though now we are proving that consciousness is actually in not only all of our cells of the body, but they are actually stored in the electrons of the body, which you're going to learn if you continue to go through some of our courses. Having said that, knowing that when you are absorbing each element, that you're absorbing a state of consciousness. So for instance, the first element, I'm not my mind. Well, if I'm not my mind and I'm not my thoughts, we kind of combine the first two elements often, then what am I? And so when we're absorbing those two elements of I am not my mind, meaning I am not the programming that my repetitive thoughts or collective consciousness has agreed to. I am not my thoughts is the ability to step out and become the observer of the thoughts. And when we're asking in the moment that we're getting tied up with or having the experience of the programming connected to thought or the mind, then we can call in the first two elements to absorb on a cellular level through the mind into our consciousness. And that allows us to actually become at a higher state of consciousness or observe from a higher state of consciousness, inviting in that intelligence beyond the programming altogether. So I'm going to go ahead and just go through the seven elements very quickly. So I just kind of went through the first two elements, and then we go into I am energy that fluctuates in vibration, meaning that I'm not my body. I am energy. I am those electric responses, and those electric responses hold intelligence, and that intelligence is our innate being or divine intelligence. So when I am fluctuating in vibration, or you are fluctuating in vibration, it just means that you are fluctuating where in that intelligence you are able to hold consciousness. So if your vibration feels a little bit lower, or you feel like you're kind of in that looping cycle of the mind or thoughts, or we all know what the experience of kind of going down the rabbit hole feels like, then we're identifying at a lower frequency of the intelligence that we're holding. And when we're in a higher state of consciousness, we're at a higher state of intelligence, or we are able to hold consciousness at a higher state of that source intelligence until we become 100% source intelligence. So, letting yourself be aware that you are going to fluctuate where you're able to hold consciousness, and that awareness gives you a choice of where you want to hold consciousness. So, asking for this element to absorb will help you with the awareness of when you are identifying in lower vibrational states and you're connecting consciousness to that state, or you're identifying in the programming of thought or the mind. Then we're going to go into one of the other elements, which is nothing exists outside myself. So, if that is true, which it is, because if we are all 100% source intelligence, we have no separation. We are an expression of an intelligence that's beyond duality. I love this element because it takes us into a space where we can no longer be the victim, that we have to be 100% responsible for the frequencies that we're choosing to experience within the God sphere, which you're going to learn in just a little bit. If nothing exists outside yourself, there's no blame. But it also means this is the first element when you start to hold consciousness and expression beyond reflection. Meaning, if nothing truly exists outside yourself, then you have to be in projection or expression of pure source intelligence, because otherwise you're in observation of programming, which is beyond yourself, or it's in a reflection of something being separate. This is an amazing element to play with because there is actually a state of consciousness that we all have the ability to hold where nothing exists outside of ourselves, that we are holding consciousness in expression. And this is the first step of truly experiencing that on a conscious level. So when we're absorbing this element, we are absorbing the ability to experience consciousness in expression. Then we move into the fifth and sixth element, which are I am an illusion and my reality is an illusion. When we really start to see ourselves as the illusion of programming, and we start to see the matrix truly as programming, even the quantum field as programming, we start to break through the illusion that anything that is an observation is the illusion. Let me say that again. Anything that is in observation is the illusion, because the space that we are observing from is going to hold programming or some sort of form. So if we start to absorb the fifth and sixth element, we start to absorb the consciousness where we can actually experience what it is to be an expression of pure source intelligence beyond observation altogether. And the first step of doing that is to absorb the fifth and sixth element to where you can actually hold consciousness and expression of that intelligence. Let me say that one more time because I hear somebody asking a question. If we have consciousness and we're in observation of the intelligence itself, is that still in the illusion? And the answer is yes, until we attune consciousness and actually move it into the intelligence. That is when we start to become the intelligence. That is when we are an expression of the intelligence. And we're going to fluctuate going in and out of that state until we are in the fifth level of consciousness, which is when we are in pure source intelligence without observation. That is when we become the creator and the creation at the same time beyond observation. All of these elements are supporting you in holding that state of consciousness because each one of these rays holds a state of consciousness, but it's being absorbed on a cellular level, and each one is a journey to actually moving you in to the seventh element, which is I do not exist. You exist without existing. Another way of saying that is that you are the creator and the creation at the same time without observation, meaning that you are just in flow of intelligence. You are divine intelligence. And because you become 100% source intelligence, there is no need for consciousness anymore. So absorbing the seventh element is truly the death of the ego. It is the death of observation altogether. It is the death of separation and duality. It is breaking quantum. Take that in. The seventh element is one of my favorite elements to play in because we truly can hold consciousness, or even better said, exist in source intelligence as source intelligence without observation. Because the truth is that once we become 100% intelligence, consciousness is no longer needed, and we won't be conscious that we are that intelligence. So look at the part of you that wants to resist that, because that's the part of you that is still holding on to the identity of the ego. So it's a lot of fun to play with this element. Let it absorb into your cells, into your mind, and into your experience of what it is as you ascend to the new human. Sending you lots of love. Have fun with the elements. They're very, very powerful. Bye-bye.